Hi guys, it's Clarice, and today we are going to do a tutorial on back to my florals, and we're going to keep it in the Christmas holiday theme. It's been a while since I have, or at least it feels like it's been a while since I've done a loose floral tutorial, so here we go with this one. We're going to start off with using the Canson watercolor paper here. For my brushes, I am going to be using my mop brush, and this essentially is the main star of the show, is what the results it kind of gives you. Very organic shapes, so this is why I like using mop brush for my big blooms. For the other brushes, I will definitely be using my silver black velvet in the 8 and the Neptune in the 8. And then I also have my silver black velvet in the 4 for tiny details. All right, so for colors, I'm going to tell you as we kind of go along, but just to get you guys, give you a sneak peek, we're definitely going to be using the, this is not the Carmine, the Madder Lake Red, English Ochre, I believe this is. Sorry, not English Ochre, English Red. So this is English Red, Madder Lake Red, and then this is the Titan Red. So I want to get a combination of these to kind of get those nice Christmassy colors. Feel free to kind of substitute it for a purple or a violet. For the greens, I'm going to be using my green and the umber, and I'll also have the emerald on the side. And then let's also throw in the greenish, yellowish green for a lighter green. All right, and we are ready to begin. All right, so we will start off by doing our bloom. And let's just do it up on this side, pointing up this way. And I have my palette ready. I'm just going to get some of the Madder Lake Red on here. So I'm just going to mix that on here really quickly and get that nice deep red happening. And as soon as I have that, and I almost do, I'm just going to get a little bit of the Titan Red on the side. And I'm just going to take a tad bit of water on the tip of my brush, and I'm not washing off any of the color. So I'm getting like a mixture of the Madder Lake and the Titan Red onto the side here. And that's okay because they're going to kind of blend in. All right, so there we go. We have nice generous amounts of these. And I am going to just wash off the brush a little bit before I go back in and get some of that Madder Lake Red, and we are ready to begin. Notice I still have some white here. Gotta make sure the colors don't mix up, then they get light. All right, so first things first, we're doing our first bloom, and I'm gonna start by doing, I've done blooms like this several times with you guys, but if you're new to my channel and this is the first video you're watching, we're gonna do like a big bloom, almost like a peony. And we're going to start off by adding a nice generous amount of color by just laying down our, creating like large arc shapes on here. So pressing down my brush, I'm just kind of going down and then just lightly doing another stroke to bring that down and create a petal. Then dipping the tip of that brush in water, I'm just doing another stroke onto the side to create the hint of another petal. Now I'm going to get some of the orange onto my brush and just add a couple of strokes at the end, and then create another stroke right here to display, to kind of create this idea of a petal. Now I'm taking my number 8 in the silver black velvet, and I'm just going to create another stroke right here and right here to have this kind of flare out. All right, and then finally, I'll just using the tip, I got a little bit of the red, and I'm just going to add another petal here. All right, so this is the inside. Now we're going to do the outside petals. And so before I do anything, I'm just going to get a little bit of the color on here, and I'm going to add a couple of strokes just at the bottom. All right, and now you'll see what we're going to do. We're going to take the number 8, and with just water on it, I'm going to extend down and create the same kind of shapes we created up, just down. Make sure you don't have too much water on your brush, otherwise it'll do a pooling thing that you kind of don't want to, but at the same time you might like it because this is a very loose style of painting, and you can just press down your brush and wash off any excess water if you feel like it. And then we're just kind of adding a couple of strokes off to the side to kind of give it that nice fluffy look. And just kind of making sure that the ends over here aren't quite abrupt. All right, so we have that, and it's looking nice and bright. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of, using the number 8, I'm going to take a little bit of the reddish color that we have onto the tip of this brush, and I'm just going to create like a hint of petals in the background, and I'm just adding it like this. Just little shapes this way, and it has to be a lot lighter than obviously the foreground petals. So I'm just kind of really going at this, leaving loose ends to the side, kind of almost like a frill format, or like creating clouds. And then just adding a couple of stems, not stems, but like extending the shape inward by adding some strokes at the end of this. And the point of doing that is so that, let me just finish this petal here on this side, and then I'll show you what the point of that is. We're going to go in with some darker red and just add it at the bottom. And then it flares up, right? So it gives you that nice dark in the center, light on the outside kind of feel. And that's why the consistency of water to color is important in this step, so that it gives you that nice flare. All right, so there we go. We have that done. And then the next thing is I'm just adding a couple of strokes to the side to kind of fluff out the flower a bit more, or the floral a bit more, and making sure you have hints of the orange in there as well. And we have this nice pretty flower. So next thing, we can create more of these, or you can kind of stop at this. Oh, before we actually go on, we need to do the center, and the center can be either like a brown. So I have my English red brownie color, so I'm just going to add that to the center here. Or you could add a yellow, it's entirely up to you. And I'm just adding it there. Just a couple of strokes to give it some variation in tone. All right, so the next thing we can do is create some leaves to go with this. And so for the leaves, actually before we do the leaves, let's do more of these florals. So I'm going to do another small one over here, and this one will be dominantly orange. And so it's going to be facing this way, and again, 1 stroke, 2 strokes, dipping the tip in water and just adding a couple of strokes here. All right, and then going in with this brush of mine and just getting a little bit of that color and creating a very loose, pushing all the color down to the center, creating like a loose background area for these petals. And then just getting some of that red and adding a couple of strokes within this little flower that we've created. And leaving a lot of white space in, guys, so don't forget to leave that white space in. All right, and then again just going in here and adding our little droplets of color so it kind of flares out, and that's good enough. And then now that we have this, because it's still damp here, I want to get some green in there so it looks a little bit like it ties in with, like it doesn't look too close to this floral. So I mix some of my green with the umber using the tip, and I'm just adding a couple of strokes here, leaving a lot of white space. If it kind of blends in with the flower, that's okay, don't worry. And now that I got that in right away, we can kind of put this color to the side for now and just tackle some of the greenery. So I'm adding some umber on here, and I'm adding some of my green, and I will even add some of in here. So really and truly just kind of mix a green that you like. And these will be our greens for the flower itself. And we don't want it to be too prominent because we want the pine leaves that we'll be creating to be more prominent. So these now, let's just do a couple of like really loose leaves, and for that we're just kind of adding one stroke, two strokes. There we go, that's it. And you're pushing down all the color to the center or to the bottom of the leaf, whatever you want to call it. And then again, I'm going to do the same thing. This time though, what I will do is I'll take my number 4, and with just water on my brush, I'm going to do one stroke. Whoops. I need a little more water on my brush. One stroke and two strokes. And what this is doing is it's kind of pulling the color from this leaf into this, and it's kind of giving you that nice soft look for a leaf. And now we'll do the opposite on this end. We will create a leaf that's a lot darker and a slight different variation of what we have here. So using the number 4 again, I've mixed some of my dark green, and I'm just going to add one stroke, and then dipping the tip in water, another stroke, and there we go. We have another variant of a leaf happening in a different green. And then you can kind of just have one overlapping on the flower itself to kind of make it look a little more loose and natural looking. I'll leave that to you. I'm just adding one there, and then I'm just adding some color at the bottom of this leaf here so it kind of blends in. All right, there we go. So we have the leaves over there. So that's the idea for the leaves. And we're gonna kind of create a couple more. Let's just do like one over here for now. And then we can kind of move on to doing some other details in this. Yes, I said one over here. So one stroke, dipping the tip in water, creating another stroke to kind of give you that nice loose look for a leaf. And then again, I'm getting another variant of the green, a darker green, and just adding it to the tip here as well so it kind of blends in. And then just adding 1, 2, 3. There we go. And just leave it at that. And now we can kind of move on and get some other details into this. Okay, so now I want to do some leaves that kind of look like eucalyptus leaves, and so I'm going to mix a little bit of my, I've mixed a little bit of the yellowish green and the, I believe this is the indigo, a little bit of indigo, and what else did I do? Indigo, this, oh, and umber, because the yellowish green is too bright, so a little bit of the umber kind of tones it down. And I got this color right here. Mind you, I got some gouache mixed in the background as well. It's white, and so it's turning out to be a lot lighter, and it's giving me that nice tealish hue. And so using the number 4, I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of strands of these eucalyptus leaves. And we're going to kind of do it in this direction and possibly one over here as well. So here we go. So I'm going to start it out from here and have it going upward. And then just using the color that I've already mixed up, I'm going to start creating little circles, circle shapes to kind of show this leaf. And we want to push all the color down to the center as we've been doing. And I want to create a couple of these leaves before I kind of go ahead and then add more shading to it. So they're pretty organic in shape and easy to do, so I'm not going to spend too much time giving you detail on how to do this. And if you do need to know about how to do these, I have done a tutorial on them. It was a nice fun tutorial from like back in July, I believe, so you can definitely check that out. So I'm just doing some areas where it looks like it is just one, but maybe it could be like the second one could be on the other end. And I'm making them smaller as we go up and trying to leave some white space. And if you can't, that's okay. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to go in with some of the green that I've previously mixed, and I'm just going to add some hints at the stem or at the bottom of it. And I'm just going to mix a little bit more of that blue with the umber and the yellowish green. And every time you mix it, you might get a different shade, and that's entirely because your consistencies might be different, but that's okay. We're doing a loose style of painting, and things do not need to look exactly the same. So we've done one of these, now we can do another one. I'm just going to mix a tad bit more color, so if we do at least 3 of them, we have enough paint to do it. All right, so here we go. Mixing more of that umber in here so we can get like a darker, more muted tone. So now I think we have a fair amount of this. I'm just going to use the number 4 to create a couple more of these strands. And let's do one over here on this end, kind of protruding in the same direction. And here's one leaf, dabbing off some of the color, getting some more of that indigo in there to kind of give me a nicer tone. There we go, pushing all the color down to the stem, making sure that the leaves are getting smaller as you go upward. And there we are. I'm just having one peeking out from like the bottom there. And yep, so that's that. I'm gonna mute this a lot more so that this doesn't look like the only light colored one that we have. And I'm also going to ensure, because I don't want the color to be a lot too close to this, so I've just taken my paper towel and dabbed off some color, and it's giving me some nice texture on there too, which I kind of like. I'll do some over here on this end now. So let's do that this way, kind of protruding, getting some color and adding a couple that kind of just go around over the top, pushing all the color down to the bottom and then just having the tiny ones at the top with white space. So the shapes for these are like really all over the place. So it's kind of fun to do them because they're an interesting shape and stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy doing these as much as I do. And again, I'm going to just, instead of using the paper towel, this time I'm going to wash off the color using my brush. I'm just going to push down the color to take off the additional color in certain areas. And you're literally just pushing it down. And there we go, we have like that nice effect, right? So that's pretty. I like how this is looking. All right, so now we're going to delve into doing the pines that will kind of wrap around this way. And so for that, you know what, I have all this color mixed here, and the consistency is just right for a base because we will layer the pines. So I'm just gonna take some of this, and in fact I'm gonna add a little bit of the umber, more of the umber into it to kind of intensify dull down the green a bit more. And then using more water, but making sure as I get the brush off, I don't have too much water on my brush. We're gonna start doing the pine leaves, and they're going to be super easy to do because literally all we're doing is we're creating a direction and then we're doing the little lines. All right, so here we go. So here's one creating and then pushing down to create these little lines. Leave white space in between. Remember, this is a loose style of painting, so then like you don't have to be super detailed in your efforts. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in with a darker shade to highlight certain areas in these leaves. So you can leave some areas blank. And let's see, these kind of extend throughout, so you're just kind of doing that same motion. I like actually from the outside in. I feel like it gives me a better, doing the leaves from the outside in gives me a better texture and look. So I'm gonna kind of continue to do that. There we go. Pushing all the color to the center, guys, don't forget. And now that we have this, since this is still damp, we can kind of go ahead and add some of our dark green. Well, it's not called dark green, it's just called green. So using my number 4, I'm just going to go ahead in there and add a couple of areas with this green while it is still damp, so I can get a nice effect. And you see how it really just like gives you such a pretty pop, and it takes away that whole, doesn't look like it's all blending in a weird manner anymore, or like one big plop of color. This really separates the rest and kind of prettifies it is what I was trying to say. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to leave this as is, and then we're going to continue doing more of these around. So have fun doing that. I'm going to do this as a time lapse. All right, so this is what we have after we did the little time lapse and created more leaves. And now we are going to be doing a different set of leaves to kind of just fluff up the background. And I might just go in and do more of these around here as well, so it looks nice and full. But yeah, so for the background, so for these, we're going to do more like furs. And we have some of this color mixed here already. Just to get a slight variation, I'm just going to add some more of that yellowish green to this mix and use this as a background. I guess leaf filler, you could call it. And I will start off by doing some over here on this end. And it's just very, very loose, like you're just adding a couple of stems and then just adding some, you know, too much color on there. So I'm just gonna wipe off some of the color, and just using water, I'm gonna add a couple of strokes. And then same thing here. We just want we want these to act as fillers, and we are hoping that these will dry up to be a lot lighter, and I'm sure they will, because this is not a lot of color on them. So we're doing the same motion, kind of keep them close, and just kind of add some sporadic lines in our typical loose manner. So they look like nice, delicate little touches around the floral. All right, so there's one. You can add some blue in there if you want to make it seem a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what is the word I'm looking for? More like to complement the eucalyptus leaves that we've done. I'll leave that to you. And we're just kind of going on to create the same motion. Trying to keep it on a tiny scale. Oh, another brush slip. So adding water, I'm just going to kind of extend it and like have it kind of just go from light to dark and kind of fade out almost. And that would be nice for this for this sort of filler leaf, I guess. All right, so we've done some there, we've done some there. We'll do some over here on this end. And let's just do some happening here on this end, if you can see. Just gonna make sure that the tips are like that, and then we're just adding extensions and kind of doing the same motion. And if you can barely see it, it's because it's very, very light, and now I'm just like going really light on the color because I want it to act, like I mentioned, as these little filler leaves that are in there, so I don't want them to take too much attention. And then again, I need to make them a little more airy because they seem so close-knit and tight almost. I'll do one more happening this way, and then we can call it quits for this kind of leaf. Just adding some to the spine, some of them, some color, I mean. These are fairly simple to do, so I'm not really doing a whole bunch of talking because they're simple to do, and they're also kind of not really mesmerizing, but you can kind of get carried away in the motion of the repetitive nature of these. All right, there we go. So created these and it's looking quite nice. Now we're going to do some, instead of closing up the whole thing with leaves, we're going to do some branches. And so for that, we're going to use colors. We're going to use some browns. I'm going to use my, where is it? I'm going to use my sepia and my Mars brown. So this is my raw sienna. My sepia is over here. So I'm going to use my number 8 Princeton Neptune for this. And we are just going to get some of the Mars brown directly from here. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this up by creating some, let's close it up from here so that it doesn't interfere with the rest. But I need to make sure that it's good. Okay. All right. We'll start off by closing it up from here so it doesn't look like it's directly, and leave as much white space as you can. I'm dipping the tip of my brush in water and I'm kind of closing up. And it can be a nice rough looking close. That's rough enough. And okay, so now I'm dipping the tip in water and I am kind of going ahead and creating more linear lines, but I'm leaving white space in between, guys. So make sure you're leaving some white space to keep this nice and loosey. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't get any on the leaves, but if you do get some, it is not a big deal. You can kind of, oops, look at what I did there. My hand went on this, so I'm just gonna smoothen that out as well, so that we don't do that mistake again. I'm going to turn it around this way and then this time kind of go around this way. And we're just kind of doing very jaggedy kind of lines that go around. All the way down there. It's not the perfect circle, but that's okay. And now we're going to go in with the brown that we have, which is the raw sienna, I believe. And I'm just going to add, I'll start from here, and I'm going to add a couple of strokes that kind of go this way and kind of weave in. And I want them to weave in so that it looks like it's a bunch of branches that are kind of going in and out. And if they're blending in that manner, that's totally okay. This is like a loose style of painting, so just go with it. And then I'm just using the tip to get some color from the Mars brown. And now I'm going to go and create another line that kind of goes, or a branch, if that's easier for you to, and that's kind of weaving in another direction here. And this way we get another variation of the brown, and it can look like it is all up in there, a whole bunch of branches to create this pretty wreath. So now I'm going back into the other brown, what did I say it was? The sepia. And I'm creating another line or a branch. That's kind of going in and out. And they honestly don't even have to join. You can kind of just have them weaving in and out. And then again back, because you want to give it a good enough amount of browns to kind of create this. create this idea that it is sealed up with branches. So if you've seen something here that I or manner that I've done that you would prefer not to do, absolutely switch yours around, because I am kind of going with the flow at this point, and I'm trying to just get something that looks to me like a nice branchy setup. I like the browns, but the sepia is looking a little bit too dark. So I'm just going to add some of my red ochre in there as well while it is still damp, to give it a nice browny reddish kind of look, and then not having it look too dark. So I'm just adding a couple of lines and strokes in there to sort of brighten up. And it's still damp, so it's giving us a nice blend. But yeah, I mean, if you feel like you prefer the sepia and you want to do darker branches, then absolutely stick with that. I'm just kind of trying to lighten it up as a whole, and that is my preference. Doesn't necessarily have to be yours. And we're almost done with the branches. I'm just perfecting the edges, and by perfecting I mean making sure that it isn't too straight edged. Sometimes that happens. All right, perfect. So I like how this has turned out. So this is our little wreath-like branch. Just adding some. Okay, so I just kind of attached or went behind these and added some more branches over there. Now we can kind of look at this as an overall and decide if we want to add anything more. And I'm going to say yes, we are definitely going to add some more of these pines that we have here. And I love how it kind of creeps up over there. And I think we can do a couple just peeking out over here, and maybe just a couple overlapping here if we can get a nice dark enough green. So exactly like what we did previously, we're going to do the same motion and method. So creating that green. This time it is, yep, using some of the green that we have on here, along with the umber. Where's my umber? Here's the umber. And I think this is why my umber ended up looking so green as opposed to the brown, and I kept referring it to it as a nice greeny brown, is because I have been mixing colors in it. In any case, I'm sure half of you guys already knew that and allowed me to kind of carry on calling it a nice green brown. All right, so this is my base. All right, and we're going to do the same thing that we did previously. And I think this is still a tad bit damp, so I'm going to do some. Actually, it's okay if it's damp. You know what? Let's just go with it. So I'm going to do some this way. And the same motion and method, leaving some space, white space in between so that we can get some of the darker green in there. let's do one peeking out this way. And then just like one over here too. So it kind of covers up the beginning of this branch. Just extending that to be a tad bit taller. And then let's see, I think we can do some over here as well, because I feel like we've got some here, we should have some here too, to kind of overshadow this bit. So these are so amazing to do because you kind of get with the repetitive motion and you kind of just want to keep on going. I love it. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. And I'm just going to keep on doing a few of these wherever I see fit. So that's good. I think we can have one peeking out over here, just so it doesn't look like what happened over here. Are there no pines on this end? One peeking out from there, and then just another one here. All right, so now I'm going to go in with my dark green, which is called Green, St. Petersburg. And I am going to add the green starting off with this area here, because this is where we had first laid down our first pine, our second set. And then I'm going to add some over there. And I like how that's happening. And then we're going to do some over here. Just got a little bit of extra color and water, and this allows the water to kind of seep into what we've laid in previously and blend in nicely. And I'm actually going to do some just over here peeking out, so I want it to look like it's not neatly placed, but like this is a rough loose painting. So technically it should be kind of peeking out in these different areas. All right, so there we go. We've got some nice greenery happening, and I think this is looking quite nice. And I think we can stop here. Some might want to add a couple of the these happening around, just to kind of fade off and add a little more detail. I will leave that up to you. I'm just going to add this one here and then stop. So yes, so I hope you guys liked and enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments. You can even kind of go in and add some snow if you wish. And I'm trying to find Sunday's video. Yes, Sundays, this is what we had done last Sunday, and we added a little bit of snow onto the flowers, or I think I added this after, just to see what it would look like. I can't remember. But yeah, check it out, try it out, try it on this as well. I love how this turned out. I hope you do too. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think, and we will chat soon. Oh yes, before we will chat soon, send me your work on Instagram. I love seeing how it turns out, and I love hearing from you guys. So thanks again for watching, and we'll chat soon. Bye.